What if the 1 weak spot everyone circled all summer just flipped in our favor subtly, quietly, like a screen that never got called but still sprung a shooter free? What if the rotations you saw in those closed scrimmages weren't experiments but breadcrumbs? And what if the next 2 weeks aren't just about preseason rhythm, but about locking in a move that changes how the Warriors survive April half-court basketball? If I told you the front office is threading a needle between culture, cap reality, and one very specific guard profile that fits our DNA like a glove, would you stay with me long enough to connect every dot? You can feel it in the tone around the facility. Film sessions got sharper. Coaches are testing who can own the first dribble against pressure and who can tag then recover without losing the shooter. There's an obsession with the small stuff again, 2-for-1s. Weak side X-outs, the pocket pass timing to hit a roller at the numbers instead of the knees. That doesn't happen unless something bigger than training camp storylines is moving beneath the surface. The league is loud in October. Winning teams are quiet. But you can hear it if you listen. The tempo just changed. Here's my promise before anything else. We're going to break down why a certain kind of guard matters next to Steph right now. What that means for Brandon Podziemski's growth and Jonathan Kuminga's touches. How you keep Draymond in a quarterback role without handing him 40 minutes of point responsibility. And why a two-way, low-usage connector can swing close games more than a high-usage microwave. We'll talk rotations, fit, risk, and the playoff math that turns good ideas into wins. No spoilers yet. Just a map. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report. If you live this team with your head in your heart, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and drop a like so more Dub Nation sees this in time. We don't do panic here. We do patterns, basketball, and truth. Let's get to work. Introduction. The Warriors that matter in late spring aren't the ones who win highlights in November. They're the ones who handle the ugly 2 minutes that decide a game in Denver on a Tuesday. That means organized spacing, real point-of-attack resistance, second-side creation that doesn't stall, and a bench that keeps the floor raised when Steph sits. You saw the blueprint during the best stretches last year, when the ball found the second side quickly, when the guards navigated screens instead of dying on them, when Draymond captained the backline and the wings finished possessions with a rebound. Everything felt inevitable, but on the nights when the point-of-attack defense wobbled, the whole house creaked. Too many straight-line drives turned rotations into emergency scramble. Too many empty minutes without Steph turned manageable leads into coin flips. The fix was never find a savior. The fix was add a grown-up guard who shrinks the opponent's comfort zone and doesn't demand the ball to help your stars breathe. Think deflections. Screen nav, early offense decisions, nothing glamorous in a tweet. Everything essential in a playoff series. The prototype is clear. A combo who can defend both backcourt spots, slide over a screen without conceding the launch pad, hit the catch and shoot above the break, and make 0.5 decisions that keep the chain moving. He must be comfortable as the first defender back in transition, willing to pull the slot cutter on a string, and confident enough to initiate a possession when Steph bends help once and then relocates into a dagger 3. In short, a connector with teeth. Layer in the roster. Steph is still gravity. Draymond is still the switchboard. Kuminga is entering the part of his career where touches need to be purposeful, not charity. Wiggins is most dangerous when he's attacking a tilting defense, not dribbling into it. Podziemski is a connector right now, with upside to grow into an organizer. You can see how a guard who doesn't need usage to defend like a starter and score, like a role player, becomes the oil in the whole machine. This team doesn't need a 25-point guard. It needs a closer who turns 96-94 wins into 103-97 sanity. Add the new CBA realities. No rescue ropes for second apron teams. No big midseason band-aids, and you understand why timing is everything. If you want to add, you do it with discipline and with a player who fits your language on day one. No, let's see if it works experiments. The line between we're dangerous and we're tiring is thin in this conference. Every move either widens that line or blurs it. And that brings us right to the threshold of the thing you're waiting for. We've walked the floor, we've set the context, and now we can say out loud what the whispers have been rehearsing. Here it is, where it belongs, the 10th paragraph. The update: Golden State is moving on a targeted backcourt addition built exactly from that. Prototype: the name on the board is D'Anthony Melton. The intent is to bring a defensive-first combo guard who screens for Steph, hunts deflections, knocks down catch-and-shoot threes, and stabilizes second units without asking for touches. It's the kind of move that doesn't scream in October, but roars in May. And to be crystal clear, we're talking about an addition the team is positioning for, not a parade with confetti. Because until the pen hits paper in this league, everything is timing and fit. The fit here is plain. The timing is the worked out who is Melton in Warrior language. A guard who makes coaches exhale. He guards point of attack with his chest, not his hands. He gets skinny at the level, recovers without overhelping, and turns the passing lane into a suggestion instead of a freeway. He doesn't hunt steals for Instagram. He generates them because his feet beat your idea to the spot. Offensively, he lives on the 0.5 menu. Catch, decide, swing, cut, go screen, slip. He doesn't dribble air out of the ball. He moves it and then moves himself. Picture the first action of a game. Steph and Melton in a guard-guard ghost screen. The defender calls switch, but Steph's man hesitates because it's Steph, and Melton slips into space. Draymond catches at the elbow. Steph relocates to the slot. Melton pins down for Wiggins. And in one sequence, the defense went from "we're fine" to "we're in rotation." That's not about usage. That's about trust. Melton doesn't become a bystander after screening. He becomes the next problem. Now think defense. The Western bracket is a parade of elite guards and wings who drag you into tough spaces. Your point of attack pairing matters. With Melton next to Steph, you can pick assignments cleanly. Melton takes the chaser job on the primary creator. Steph hides on a lower usage shooter and saves legs for fourth quarters. On nights when Podziemski starts, Melton can anchor the second unit and then close depending on matchups. On switch possessions, Melton doesn't need a bailout the moment a bigger wing backs him down. He sits, he times, he funnels the help. There's a reason coaches love guards who play defense like a plan instead of a stunt. Fit with Kuminga is straightforward. JK's best version is straight line force into lanes the offense pries open. A guard who refuses to break spacing, who hits Kuminga in stride without making him turn his back to catch, who could also screen into a mismatch that lets JK bully a smaller guard. That's value. With Wiggins, Melton's presence gives you a defense-first perimeter trio that can still score without throwing out your spacing. Draymond plus Melton is a coach's dream in delay sets Draymond surveys from the top. Melton ping-pongs between pin-ins and ghost screens. The weak side action never dies. Close games are where this kind of guard is worth his weight. Crunch time 5 if the matchup demands perimeter defense. Steph, Melton, Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond. If you need more shooting, swap Wiggins for an elite spacer. If you need more size on the glass, slide a big in and keep Melton to protect the point of attack. The goal is always the same. Keep Steph from being the primary solver of every defensive puzzle while keeping the offense in its read and react groove. Shot profile. You're not signing Melton to be a 25 usage isolationist. You're signing him to punish help-off greed and to give you honest drives when the closeout comes wild. Catch and shoot above the break? Check. Corner 3 when Steph warps a shell? Check. One dribble pull-up if the late closeout flies by. Enough to keep you honest. In a Warriors context, his threes matter less as a counting stat and more as a spacing threat that the scout has to respect. That inch of gravity is the difference between Steph catching and launching, or catching and stuttering into a reset. On-ball rep? He can run second-side pick and roll, especially with Draymond as the short roll passer. He doesn't need 1,000 reps to be effective. He needs clean reads and teammates who see the game one play ahead. That's this team. The fun synergy is with Steph as a screener. Opponents have to decide, switch and risk Steph on a small guard in the post or trail and give Melton a runway into the mid-paint floater. There's a reason Golden State's best guards learn to screen, because it flips the game script without a substitution. Let's talk minutes, because that's where fans will live. Opening look could be Steph Podziemski, with Melton as the six-ish man who arrives the moment the opponent's second unit exhale turns into a bad idea. Or you start Melton when the matchups demanded a physical chaser with stamina to bother the first action and the second. End of half and end of game are about trust. Who keeps the ball alive? Who remembers the timeout count? Who tags the roller and gets out to the corner without needing to look back at the bench for approval? Melton grades high in those habits. What does this do to the younger guards? Pressure in the good way. It raises the standard for screen navigation and decision speed. It doesn't steal development. It protects it by stabilizing lineups so young players learn roles inside a functioning group, not chaos. Podziemski benefits the most. He can scale up or down, play with Steph, play with Melton, finish a game with both if the matchups favor IQ over size. Iron sharpens iron. This is iron. Injury risk is the adult paragraph nobody likes but everyone needs. Melton has had stretches of missed games. The buy-in here is structure. You manage back-to-backs wisely. You tailor practice low, you keep his job description tight guard like a demon. Shoot when ready, screen with purpose. Don't try to be three players at once in January. The point of adding a connector is not to hand him the steering wheel. It's to keep the car on the road while the stars punch the gas when it matters. Contract mechanics are their own chessboard. Under today's rules, second apron teams can't magic their way into splashy midseason ads. That's why this kind of targeted, disciplined acquisition is the only kind that makes sense. You're not paying for name value. You're paying for fit value. You're looking for a number that respects the player and keeps. You agile enough to make small tweaks at the bracket. Spits out a matchup that demands a different look. Zoom out to the West. Who's in front of you in May? Guards who bend defenses Luka, SGA, Jamal Murray, Devin Booker. Wings who punish your smallest mistake. Dribble handoff teams that force you to choose between getting buried on screens or giving up rhythm threes. A guard like Melton doesn't erase stars. He forces second options to carry more weight. He buys you 3 more seconds on a clock and 1 more rotation for a hand in the face. In playoff math, that's a 1.5 per 100 that you didn't have last week. There's a culture piece people throw around like confetti. Here, it matters in very specific ways. Warriors basketball is a language screen angle, timing, the feel for when Steph is about to pop. When Draymond wants you to hold the corner a beat longer so a back cut opens. Guys either hear that music or they don't. Melton hears it. He's not coming to be the soloist. He's coming to be the drummer who keeps a tempo when the song wobbles. There will be pushback always. Shouldn't they go bigger? What about another score? Those aren't wrong questions. They're incomplete. The best version of this roster needs a guard who makes everyone else better at their jobs. Adding a 5 who can't close or a scorer who needs. Touches he won't get here is how you win. January and lose May. The move that looks quiet now often gets the loudest in the games that matter. What would success look like by Thanksgiving? Lower opponent paint touches without sending the house. Cleaner second quarters when Steph sits. A bump in wins of the margins, offensive rebounds because the guard cracked back on the big instead of ball watching. 2 more charges drawn because the point of attack guy didn't open the gate. 3 extra keep the dribble alive. Find Steph's third relocation. Possessions per game. Simple, brutal, effective. What would failure look like? If Melton tries to be more than he is, if the shot deserts him for weeks at a time without the defense staying elite, if the health plan doesn't hold, then you've added a name and not a solution. That's the risk. The counter is structured to find his job in Sharpie, and let the team do the rest. The Warriors succeed when roles are tight and trust is high. Why now? Because Steph isn't waiting on our feelings. Because Kuminga is ready for the next turn of the dial and needs lane partners who understand pace. Because Draymond can quarterback more if he isn't stuck erasing every blown entry with heroics. Because this conference will punish any backcourt that can't fight over a screen, and we've already lived the alternative. This is a mood that says we're not chasing headlines. We're buying possessions. There's also something poetic about the fit. The Warriors have always been at their best when the smallest guy on the floor played with the biggest authority on the little things. Melton is a little things merchant, digs at the nail, back taps in transition, late clock awareness. He's the guy whose presence turns a "here we go again" stretch into "we're fine." In a season where margins decide seeding, that's not small. Will it change who closes every night? No, it changes who you can close with every night. Versatility is the currency now. Some games you need shooting around Steph and a D-like gravity on the roll from whoever's at the 5. Some games you need to choke air out of a star guard and live with weak side contests. Melton expands the menu without changing the chef. If you're wondering about how this shapes Brandon's development arc beautifully, he still gets on-ball reps because that's how he learns to run the car at speed. But now those reps happen with lineups that won't hemorrhage the second he hits a pothole. He can toggle between organize and finish, learn from a veteran who defends like a thesis, and still have the ball enough to grow. That's the balance great teams strike. Develop while competing. And yes, there's a world where this flames out. Every move has one. But the upside to cost ratio is right. The stylistic fit is obvious. The need is acute in the exact parts of the game that become your obituary if you ignore them. That's why this makes sense, even if it never trends. You're betting on a floor raiser who doesn't touch your ceiling, except to clean the dust off it. Before we land, let's talk about how this affects Steph in the only way he should care: legs and leverage. A real point-of-attack partner buys him 5 fewer hard defensive chases a night and 3 fewer initiations when the clock says push. That's energy back in the bank for fourth quarters and road trips. That's the difference between 2 for 7 from deep late and 3 for 7 with one of them being the shot that kills a run. It's not sexy. It's the whole thing. All right, Dub Nation, your turn. Do you want a defensive-first connector who lets the system breathe? Or would you rather chase a bigger name at a higher cost later? If Melton becomes the move, how would you stagger him with Steph and Podziemski? Who's your closing 5 against the West's elite guards? Drop your lineup, your rotation tweaks, your 2-minute drill plan below. The comments are where we coach together. My view. Quick and straight. This is exactly the kind of disciplined aggression the Warriors should make. Melton fits the playbook, protects the minutes that have hurt us, and scales the playoff basketball without asking for anything the offense can't give. And yes, to be crystal clear until anything is official, this is an informed basketball-first speculation about a fit that makes too much sense to ignore.